Modern women hate when men find out the truth about female nature. As you know, whenever you tell a woman that you are done with relationships and dating, they will try everything in their power to pull you back to the plantation and shame you into getting hoodwinked and bamboozled all over again. But what's worse is when you demonstrate that you understand them and they realize they can't manipulate you. That is what women really hate. Because let's be real, women want you to be dumb and naive about who they are. This gives them all the ammo they need to manipulate and take advantage of you so they can get what they want. Always remember that at their core, XXs are selfish and they only care about themselves and what they have to gain. The thing is, when you learn about female nature and you decide you're done with dating and going into relationships, they can't manipulate or get something from you anymore. They view men who have woken up as a threat because you literally threaten their survival if you cannot be manipulated. What you guys must understand is that everything a woman does is primarily for her survival, and if she has a young baby, she may prioritize that baby's survival over herself if she's a good mother, and unfortunately, most of them aren't. And this is why men going their own way is so powerful. The moment you remove yourself entirely from women, and you're not trying to beat up their wet vice grip or form any meaningful relationship, they cannot manipulate or use you. And women manipulate men and the people around them using mainly three things. Number one is their association with the people around them, which can be any form of relationship or acquaintance. Number two is the most dangerous to men, which is by leveraging sex, and number three is using the court of public opinion to garner sympathy and trust from the people around them. If you look at the Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp case, she used all three manipulative tactics to control and manipulate Johnny while being able to play the victim in the literal court and court of public opinion. Let's break it down so you understand how women use men to survive. The first manipulation started with her association with Johnny. Both of them were married, so by virtue of that, she can begin the manipulation process because they have a relationship together. If they had no association, she could never have manipulated him in the first place. So always remember, if you don't mess with women or have any relationship with them, they cannot manipulate you. The second manipulation began when they had sex together. Now, all of you understand that women use sex in their bodies to get what they want from men. That is common knowledge. When you look at the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp situation, they were married and he was rearranging her pee sleeve. Or they wouldn't have gotten married in the first place, so she used that in order to manipulate him so she could get what she wanted. Men who don't have sex with women and they go on monk mode or their own way rarely get manipulated by women because they typically won't associate with them and they won't have any bedroom fun, so women cannot manipulate those men. This is why women hate when men leave dating and relationships alone, because they cannot use your lustful nature or what Coach Greg Adams calls your stupid juice, which is your nut, against you. Because if most men did not want to bust a nut or their stupid juice, they would never associate with women, and thus they could not get manipulated. Sure, we would have died off a long time ago, but we are already at the beginning of the end, so in my opinion, let it burn. Don't allow women to use your nature against you to get what they want. And if that means that you stop having sex with them permanently or for a time until you can control yourself, then do it. The third manipulative tactic that women use is the court of public opinion, or in other words, the believe all women type of people. Do you guys remember the hashtag believe all women BS that was spreading like wildfire on social media? Well, that was an effort by women to preserve their ability to manipulate and use men to get what they want and not be held accountable. So whenever you hear someone utters out of their mouth, "Why would a woman lie?" understand that that person is an NPC that needs to be discarded out of your life or avoided at all costs, because they will be quick to throw you under the bus for a woman. Now, in the Amber Heard case, she used the court of public opinion to paint Johnny as the villain and an abuser so she could have the upper hand in the trial. Luckily for Johnny, he presented concrete evidence to prove she was lying the entire time. Eventually, most people, including the people in the courtroom, saw through her lies and manipulation and gave the dub to Johnny. This is what women do. They rush to get their story out first to the court of public opinion, paint you as the bad guy, and then make people do their dirty work. Without people believing women without evidence and running to their rescue, most of them would not be able to manipulate men or survive in this world. So with all of what I just said, this is why women hate it when men understand them and cannot be manipulated, because they will not be able to survive without using men. It's that simple. Women will need you more before you ever need them, and that's just something that you guys need to realize. This is why they get so mad when you tell them you've been watching Coach Greg Adams, Andrew Tate, and Kevin Samuels, because they don't want you to learn about female nature and their manipulative ways. You can be easily manipulated when you are ignorant, naive, and full of stupid juice. But I told all of you how they can control and use men, so you must decide how you want to associate with them or don't associate with them so you don't get manipulated. Alright gents, I'm slightly changing the format of the video to test out something new, so I will be adding some different things to the videos as time passes by, and I will see how you guys react to see if I should change the videos or not. So today we'll be looking at an article by news.com.au titled, "I'm quiet quitting men and I'm not even sorry about it." Tap the like button and get this video to 500 likes and let's dive in. I've noticed something about the way I date that I'm not too proud of. You see, I've realized I've been quiet quitting on blokes, and to be fair, I think some of them have been doing it to me as well. By now, we've all heard of quiet quitting. It's the newly coined term for doing the bare minimum at work. It involves pulling right back, saying no to working overtime, refusing extra tasks, and not going for promotions. Well, I haven't done that in my job. Girlfriend's got ADHD and far too much energy to burn, but I have noticed I'm doing it in my dating life. I'll go on a couple of dates with a guy, enjoy their company, but then get distracted and start to quiet quit out of the relationship. Gents, the first red flag is she has some sort of mental issue. When you hear that, run. And the next thing is she seems to be in these streets if she constantly has to date or is quote-unquote quite quitting in her dating life. So off the bat, she is not in the wifey category, and I would not take her seriously at all. Let's continue. The distractions can come in many forms. I call it pretty bird syndrome. You know, when you're walking along the street, deep in thought, then look up and spot a colorful rosella and think, "Ooh, pretty bird," before continuing to plod along with a completely different thought in your head. Well, that's basically what I'm like in dating, and I reckon a lot of people are. You go out with the bloke and enjoy the initial serotonin rush when he texts you to say he had a great night and is looking forward to doing it again, but then you go on a few more dates, still undecided, and that rush you once enjoyed from his text starts to wane. So you start quiet quitting on him, sometimes subconsciously. Gents, this sounds to me like she's been ran through and can no longer pair bond. That is what I get. It's like people taking drugs in the first initial hit that gave them that high. They cannot replicate that feeling the longer they do it. The same thing applies to women dating and riding the CC. These women cannot feel anything for anyone anymore because they've taken so many digging sticks from multiple men that they can no longer pair bond. That is why we caution you not to wife up 304s because they're dead on the inside. Let's continue. It's different to ghosting. You're not just disappearing in a cloud of rude smoke, you're still texting back, but without the same enthusiasm, like responding without a question to avoid the text turning into a conversation. Yep, you're basically putting in the bare minimum. You see, you don't want to be rude, and you're not certain you want to end it, so you just keep it lukewarm. This might seem outrageous, but I think it's nicer than dumping said date. Especially when you're still in the early stages of dating, it doesn't really require an "it's not you, it's me" chat. You both just kinda read the room and then go on your merry ways, perhaps choosing to pick it back up at a later date, say when you run into them again and they're looking hot. Shameless, Jana, shameless. Gents, we are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. First of all, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. I only need 25 more of you to go and subscribe to the channel and we'll hit our goal. So I'll link the channel in the description box and pin comment, so go over there and subscribe. Does she realize that she's doing the men a favor? Most men want to beat up that wet vice grip and move on with life, so I think this mindset is fantastic. Who wants to have to text and check up on women to ensure they don't regret giving us some wet vice grip and end up filing a false allegation? I don't, so I approve of this movement. More women need to start quiet quitting and leaving men alone after a fling. Those who disagree with me put a 5 in the comments. Continuing. Now on the flip side, quiet quitting could also happen when the relationship seems just a tad too dramatic. You're consistently fighting or playing games. One day you discover that the whole thing is far too exhausting, so rather than send them a scathing text and enter the boxing ring for another round of shouting, you just back away quietly. You're polite, courteous, and responsive, just without the same enthusiasm you once had. This is apparently a handy way to get out of a relationship with a narcissist. Basically just become super boring, so they no longer want your attention. Gents, you know what this is? This is an excuse for lazy women who don't want to do anything for men, and that's the honest truth. Can you imagine being with a woman who just wants to do the bare minimum in the relationship? Gents, you can either leave dating alone or choose women who aren't ran through and have traditional values and come from a household where both parents are in the home. You're more likely to have a better relationship than dating these lazy and parasitic ex-exes. Let's continue. Now, let me take it one step further. Perhaps it's worth quiet quitting dating in general, at least for a little while. Earlier this year, I went on a bit of a dating bonanza. I was desperately trying to get over an ex and decided to date new peeps would be the key to my success. Except it was a disaster. No bloke matched up to my ex, who I still had on a pedestal, and I got serious burnout from going on dates and feeling absolutely diddly squat for any of them. Well, what do you know, she's being alpha widowed, men just walk away. The pee ain't worth it, trust me. Women like these belong to the streets, so let them remain where they are and go ahead and live your damn life. Your peace, quiet, and freedom are way too valuable to flush down the toilet for a 304. But as much as I preach and warn you guys to stay away from women like these or keep them as casual flings, I know some of you watching this video would still wife up a woman like this. It is what it is. You reap what you sow, gents. Continuing. So I quit the dating scene. I didn't make a grand announcement that I was out of the dating game. I just shut my apps down for a while, stopped locking in dates when my heart wasn't in it, and basically did the bare minimum when it came to finding my significant other. It was exactly what I needed, and I spent that alone time actually healing and mourning the end of a dud relationship. So sure, quiet quitting might sound a bit selfish and a bit lazy, but what's so wrong with stepping back and getting some perspective for a while? In the end, Chad always wins, and you sucker for love ninjas get quiet quitted on. Take this as a lesson to put yourself first and not modern women. What a time to be alive. I hope you guys are taking your life seriously and prioritizing your money, health, spirituality, and well-being over these 304s. On the screen are our Season 11 videos that our supporters have been loving so far, so click the video on the screen to have a good laugh and be ahead of modern women.